Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Wargame. Today's game is another one of those no-income tacticals. You got no income to resupply units that you've lost. There is no way to quickly push a flank by just simply swarming it with units. Although, there is. But if you do that, your chances of securing another flank or losing a lot of forces and then not being able to resupply them is serious. This one was sent in by the Helmed Head. Also working with CXCL137 and Balthazar against some people that we've already seen before playing these 3v3 tactical incomes. No 3v3 no incomes conquest games. Sus Gaming TV and McSus. They were on the channel a while ago in the same map, the same way to Seoul, the same highway. For a no income game, this is a large area to cover. And that also makes it large for me to cover. Even in a frame like this, it's going to be hard to see what is going on everywhere. So if I miss some stuff, apologies in advance, but I simply cannot see everything. Now, no income. So pick your units wisely and make sure that your units are cost effective. This is conquest, not destruction, so you're not trying to rack up as many destruction points as you can. Nevertheless, you want to make sure that your units are killing more than they cost, because resupplying them, or well, replacing them, is either difficult or impossible. Red 4, going into several different vectors, and proper communication is quickly established. I suspect that these guys are also on Discord, TeamSpeak, or whatever platform that they're using. Helmed Head's putting a CV there. Helmed Head saying, I'm going to hold here. And McSus is going to be encountering Balthazar over there. Sus Gaming is going to go there. And Helm's Heads is saying, I can hold here, and then I can support here. So he's going to set up a sort of line engulf, which means that hotel could be up for grabs. Now this being a conquest, it is interesting, it is tempting even, to try and put a command vehicle into as many sectors as you can. But is that wise? A command vehicle does cost you 100 points. Let's say that each team started with 3,000 points. So that's 1,000 points a player. Buying an additional CV means that you effectively have 10% of your budget spent on a command vehicle. That's, well, it could be ticking points, but you need to secure it with something. And that is what this game is about. How much do you invest in command vehicles? How much do you invest in combat units? And if you look at ranked games, for example, it's usually people playing for map control. Map control first, and then putting in the CV. But only when they feel that map control has been established, or at least that's my interpretation of events. Blue 4 seems to be going for a pretty heavy helo offensive. We got frogs, Hueys, even a longbow over there, a couple of daps. This means that their fire support on their infantry is going to be limited. These guys, of course, carry their miniguns, but they do not have autocannons. They trade that for mobility. So the frogs themselves could drop off the infantry and then still go on the prowl, which would require either a lot of NTR, a nice spag or two, or a couple of fighters to try and take them down in several attacks. Over here we got Jaeger with a couple of Humvees, fast movers. At least road vehicles can, well, they can get over here fairly quickly. It's still going to take a while. It is a big map and it's a lot of terrain to cover. On this side, we have a couple of Black Hawks from Sus Gaming TTV, and he also seems to be sending some units here with McSus as his ally. Red 4, starting with far fewer helicopters. They got the Alouette, a Gamma 2, and, interestingly, an NRZ 128. These carry the Plamen A. Those are very heavy rocket pods, dealing 4 high explosive and having a pretty good accuracy. Also a few helos. We got the Super Puma or 3, an Alouette, but nothing as serious as Blue 4. They seem to be going right down the highway with the majority of their forces. And of course a BTR, so a command unit, and some escorts heading over to Foxtrot and potentially beyond that. Now again, there is a lot to cover here. I'm going to try and see how much I can cover. The MiGs are quickly encountering the Black Hawks. Not even necessarily out there for a kill, but just gathering information is valuable. Because look at what Red 4 can see. They can see a whole lot of helos. And since you don't exactly have an ID this way, you can still zoom in on the unit and see what they're using. That's going to already tell you something about what their playstyle is going to be like. And especially having the knowledge that a longbow is about is very useful. Unfortunately, the MiG-1 bis, or sorry, the MiG-21 bis, does not have terribly good autonomy. Its time over target is not great, but it seems like this particular MiG-21 does not have to worry about that anymore. Crashes and burns after encountering a couple of DAPs, which fire a well, pretty large amount of stingers at it, but the job gets done. Fortunately, they're not terribly expensive, these Gammas, as opposed to an F-18 Hornet. This is going to be a very versatile aircraft, capable of going after helicopters and ground targets alike. And for 500 kilogram bombs, they might not be able to kill everything, but they can definitely stun stuff. Over here, Sus Gaming TV has dropped off his TACCOM, I suspect with the twin Huey, and seems to be unaware of the helicopter presence over there. Keep in mind, though, that those Red 4 helos are not particularly well suited to scouting. The Gamma, poor optics, and this thing, same deal, poor optics. Still good enough to spot the CV. And that is 100 points. Not so much for the Gamma to take out, but the rocket pods are very, very quick to get rid of the command infantry, leaving them without the spawn zone of Juliet. So that was a quick and swift blow, and potentially a critical one. Even though it is only a +1 sector, it does mean that that Blue 4 is not getting +4, but only well, it was +3, but now it's only +1. As I think Red just captured maybe Bravo or another sector. Blue's presence over here is looking light, and not in the sense of a pun. I mean, these are light riflemen, sure, but that's not what I meant. Red, however, can, if they get aggressive, push. And there is not that much to stop them. A couple of ground forces, again, in the form of light riflemen. I personally wouldn't put light riflemen in a building like this. I would put something like Marines, maybe one squad. Because light riflemen with their Super Dragon, not terribly effective at short range. Blue seems to have a pretty good grasp of Delta. What they do not have in Echo, they have in Delta. And it seems to be the right choice for the moment, because Delta is a +2. Leading them already onto a 82 point score versus only 5 for Red. The other side, we know where the longbow is. Interestingly, it has been parked just on the road, and potentially there to make sure that the MiG-21 can't find it. But something else did. Something else did find it, and or there was an attack marker on it. We got Deltas going through the woods, escorted by riflemen, or maybe they are the escorts. MiG-21 still looking for a target, but the longbow is not popping up, not presenting a threat. Highlanders, C2 Mexes, and a bunch of commandos are locking down this area. Highlanders are great for these short-range engagements with their Erics, and they have probably no trouble dealing with a couple of Wilks. That's not their only issue, though. Yikari 90 are popping over the hill. They're coming over the ridgeline, and now they're encountering the Highlanders. If the Highlanders are busy fighting off the Yikari, that's when the T-72s could come in useful. They immediately wipe out one, I think, Leopard Mexes, and if they get an opportunity, they will wipe out the Challenger Marksman. Block 52, in an effort to try and dissuade the enemy from pushing, does a gun run. Potentially killing a few Yikari, but it seems like it's not too deadly. Over here, back in Juliet, there is a very small offensive going on, but potentially deadly. We got a spotter and anti-air, a Wilk, and an autocannon. And there is very little left in Juliet. There's one light rifleman and 2 transports that seem to be happening to be about. But they did capture another sector. Blue puts them at +2. But that put Sus Gaming in a potentially, well, tricky position of having to spend another 100 points on a command vehicle. Interesting over here is that Baltazar has managed to sneak a Yikari 90 behind enemy lines. They are coming in behind the sector of India, and if they're able to wipe out the TACOM, that's going to put them at neutral. No more income for Blue. Red, in the meanwhile, definitely making waves in Delta. They have pushed out all the Highlanders. They're making sure that they control as many of the woods as possible. And while the Hornet was trying to do damage, it couldn't really do that much, because they seem to be lacking in optics. This cluster of units is pretty much waiting to get bombed here. And the Challenger Marksman is backing off. That means that they're vulnerable. But of course, Red 4 might not know that. Over here, interestingly actually, Red 4 has not yet captured Gulf. Whereas Blue 4 keeps spending more and more on command vehicles. Although at this point, the TACOM is trying to make its way out of this sector. Despite that, they are still at a +2. The Yekeri are now trying to engage the TACOM. And aside from the pivot, there's not that much anti-air. That goes for Red 4 as well, by the way. There's just one Strela. That is the entirety of their forces. So both sides can make use of their airstrikes. Those Hornets and potentially Red 4 bombers are going to be very deadly. Commandos trying to run away from the fight. 2 T-72s are hunting them down. Yekeri leading the fight. Trying to spot the commandos. And the TACOM is not waiting around. It seems like there is a transport nearby. But Mexas is not taking it. Potentially for fear of having the TACOM get shot at in the transport as they're on the move. Over here, Blue 4 does not really seem to have a plan. I'm seeing riflemen push up to the edge of the woods, Delta Force as well, but if you want to make it to I don't know where, because there is nothing here to kill, there's no command unit, then you're going to have to cross the open fields. And those fields are being watched, those fields are being looked over by 185 KTs and a Wilk. Panzer Yekeri and Eric Skoyara Yekeri, or something to that tune, are defending this town. So here too, Delta Force and Riflemen are not really going to be moving up effectively. All the more because Blue 4 does not seem to have a fire support vehicle of any kind here. Sure, there's one Humvee, but that's not really going to be too much of an issue. Over here I'm seeing an attack marker on the command unit. The TACOM barely survives the attack from the bombing run there. And it seems that the twin Huey is all that stands between the Panzer Yekeri and the TACOM. TACOM are not running and fighting. Now they're running, but they're running the wrong way. This push puts Red at a +1. There goes the command. This way, there's also no more spawns. I'm just not sure if Sus Gaming still had any more units to spawn in. But of course his allies might be able to assist. Hawk comes in, probably gets the order from the other guys saying, hey, we already got the target, don't worry. And he pulls the Hawk out. Over here, Red and Blue still at a standstill. Not much is going on, because neither party really needs to... Well, Blue 4 sort of needs to push up, but can't. Red 4 does not need to push up at all. Red 4, if they have the points, they can just send a CV in there, and there would be very little, if anything, that Blue 4 could do about it. There's also a flank defender here, in case you're wondering. There is one Eric's down there, making sure that none of these Daps and Longbow get any sort of fancy ideas and go for an offensive into Foxtrot and potentially beyond that. 3 Hawk 51s come in. Yeah, there's no anti-air. There's no response. So any infantry unit that got detected is going to get rained on. 221 Bisses still on patrol. They could... Actually, I think they might not be on patrol. No, they might not be on patrol. They might very well be looking to kill. I think they just did. Killed the longbow. And very quickly also wiped out both of the Daps. That leaves this area completely devoid of anti-air. But then again, for Red there's not really any advantage to pushing in here. Because they don't need it. It's a +1, they can still capture a +2. There's no CV to hunt down. Pushing in there now is not really going to be benefiting them. Let's see, the commandos have made it out. The TACOM from Mexas is still running. They have another CV there, a CV here of course in Lima. There was a scuffle over here, but I kind of missed it. You can still see some of the remains down here. There was a BTR that just ran down the road. And that Yekeri section that came out of it almost took care of the TACOM. At this point, Blue 4 no longer has control of India. They don't have Juliet. they seem to be out of points. And that is the price of buying CVs. Or at least buying a lot of CVs, as Helmet Head pointed out in his description of the replay. He said buying CVs is interesting, but it shows, I'm quoting, but it shows that CV stacking and no income is not a good strategy. You give up too much offensive potential. And that is important. As you can see, Red 4 over here is not buying any CVs. Echo, Juliet, India, even the sector over there is open. But they're not buying CVs. They're just trying to push the other CVs out. Because while Blue 4 spent on command units, Red 4 spent on offensive units. And they are now really successfully getting rid of Blue 4's expensive command units. And with the very, very few forces that Blue 4 has left, there is really not a whole lot that Blue 4 can still do. The Riflemen and the Delta, they're really not... I wouldn't really know what to do with them at this point. Sure, they might take out the Ito 90. Great. And then what? Because I think Blue has no aircraft left. And even if they do, they're going to get greeted by 2 MiG-21 the moment that they pop out. Over here there is some defensive line. Rangers are making sure that no helos fly over, and same for the Humvees and more Rangers back there. But Mike is wide open. This Vidra, it still has some fuel. It could drive right into Mike and kill it. And that'd be done. So, if you are playing either a low income or a no income, be very careful about overspending on command units. Because if you do, then this is a potential outcome. Now, I'm not saying that this is never going to work, but at least in my experience from watching the replays and from, from very, very limited ranked experience, it's not a great strategy, trying to just push your bar to 500 points as quickly as possible, because even with a +4, +3, or potentially even a +5, if you can pull that off, it's usually farther away than you might like. And there we go, the Hawks once again coming in. I think they're not even going for a bombing run. Nope, they're just using them for their Molnia anti-air missiles, or air-to-air missiles. Look at this, there's nothing blue on this side left. There's one Charlie Marksman trying to limp back to base with a limited fuel tank. This is pretty much done. And let's see, how are they going to finish it? The Vidra is looking for the CV. Trying to find it in the woods. Nope, can't find it there. More units are coming in. Sissy and BTR. Sus Gaming surrenders. And there we go. The other guys surrender as well, leading to a defeat. Again, buying CVs, it's a strategy. It's not usually a great strategy, because the way that you buy CVs means that you're chewing through your points. And those points are, well, they're offensive units, as you can see. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the replay. If you have more replays that you think would be good videos, then by all means send them in. Link down below in the description on how you can send them in. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It's good for the YouTube algorithm. And of course, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for the next one.